The Populist Delusion by Nima Parvini is a provocative and deeply analytical examination of populism through the lens of elite theory. Rather than accepting the common democratic premise that the people govern themselves through free choice and participation, Parvini makes a bold and unsettling claim, that all societies are, in practice, ruled by elites. His work dismantles romantic illusions about mass sovereignty and reveals the hidden architecture of power that shapes even the most apparently democratic institutions. From the outset, Parvini critiques the foundational myth of modern democracy, that the masses have genuine power. Drawing on the work of classical elite theorists like Vilfredo Pareto, Gaetano Mosca, and Robert Michels, he argues that elites are not just a feature of political life, they are its defining reality. Parvini doesn't simply present this as a critique but as a descriptive truth. Every regime, he claims, regardless of its stated ideology, is ruled by a minority. This insight becomes the philosophical cornerstone of the book. He explores how modern populism, despite its anti-elite rhetoric, often misunderstands or misrepresents the true nature of power. Populist movements rally behind slogans of people's rule, yet they remain trapped in a system designed and maintained by entrenched elites. These elites, Parvini notes, are not necessarily the most intelligent or the most virtuous, but rather those best able to navigate and manipulate institutional structures for their own benefit. Much of the Populist Delusion is a guided tour through the theories of thinkers who laid the groundwork for modern political realism. Pareto's circulation of elites theory receives special attention. According to Pareto, every society has a ruling class that eventually decays and is replaced by a new one. Populists, Parvini argues, often fail to understand this dynamic. They seek to overthrow the current elites without realizing that they, too, will become a new elite, possibly one just as corrupt or ineffective. Michels' iron law of oligarchy plays a crucial role in Parvini's argument. Michels showed that even in organizations claiming to be democratic, power always consolidates in the hands of a few. Parvini applies this concept broadly, suggesting that populist leaders cannot escape this law. In seeking mass mobilization, they inevitably centralize power. Thus, the goal of restoring control to the people is structurally impossible. Parvini is critical of both mainstream liberal democracy and populist alternatives, but his criticism isn't nihilistic. Instead, he urges his readers to see politics as it really is, not as they wish it to be. His realism does not lead to despair but to a call for strategic clarity. If one wants to change society, he argues, one must understand how elites operate, how they form, and how they maintain dominance. This is not a moral judgment but a strategic imperative. The book also touches on the psychological and sociological aspects of elite formation. Drawing from James Burnham's The Machiavellians and Carl Schmitt's theory of the political, Parvini emphasizes that politics is always about friend-enemy distinctions and the will to power. Populists often shy away from this reality, favoring unity and consensus. But Parvini insists that real politics is conflictual. One cannot defeat an elite by appealing to fairness or justice alone. In a particularly striking section, Parvini challenges the populist assumption that mass awakening or consciousness-raising can alter the balance of power. He sees this belief as rooted in liberal individualism, which overestimates the rationality and independence of the masses. In reality, people are easily influenced, passive, and generally averse to political engagement. Populism, therefore, must abandon fantasies of mass empowerment if it wants to be effective. Instead of awakening the people, Parvini suggests that political change comes from the formation of counter-elites. These are disciplined, strategic minorities who understand the mechanisms of influence and institution building. This elite-centric model of change is more historically grounded and less reliant on mass spontaneity. Populist movements that fail to form such elites will either be co-opted or crushed. Throughout the book, Parvini uses contemporary examples to illustrate the persistence of elite dominance. He points to how major institutions, from media to academia to tech companies, shape narratives, suppress dissent, and maintain control. These institutions form what he calls the managerial elite, a group that rules not through force but through soft power, bureaucratic complexity, and moral consensus. Populists often attack the surface without ever reaching the roots. Parvini is not simply offering a theory of why populism fails, but a roadmap for what a more effective political strategy might look like. This requires accepting the elite nature of all politics and working within that framework to build new centers of power. He urges a turn away from mass politics toward elite formation, strategic organization, and institutional capture. Real power, he argues, lies not in votes but in control over the levers of state and culture. The book's tone is direct, unsentimental, and at times starkly deterministic. Yet Parvini's purpose is not to demoralize but to recalibrate. He wants readers, especially those sympathetic to populist ideas, to abandon utopian fantasies and adopt a serious, Machiavellian approach to politics. This means embracing hierarchy, organization, and leadership rather than imagining that justice will emerge organically from mass will. What sets the Populist Delusion apart is not just its content, but its clarity. It pulls no punches and demands its readers confront uncomfortable truths. In doing so, it offers a kind of political sobriety that is rare in an age of ideological fervor. It is a book that breaks illusions, not to destroy hope, but to redirect it towards something achievable and grounded. The storytelling in the book is not dramatic or emotional in the traditional sense, but its narrative arc is one of disillusionment followed by strategic realism. Parvini walks his readers through the collapse of comforting myths and then offers them tools to rebuild their political understanding on firmer ground. It is a journey from faith to knowledge, from idealism to strategy. Ultimately, the Populist Delusion is a critique of naivete in politics. It asks its readers to grow up intellectually and recognize the permanence of elite rule. But it also offers a path forward, not through populist dreams, but through elite renewal. In Parvini's view, salvation for any movement lies not in appealing to the people, but in understanding who really holds power, and learning how to become them.